Assalamu alaikum, my dear student. Hope you all are fine. Student, today I am going to start with the new topic of poetry, that is 2.2, the sower. Okay, today I will going to explain you the entire poem by stanza wise. The sower. Student, this poem is written by Victor Hugo, and it is translated by Bengali poet Torulata Dutt. Clear? What I said, this poem is written by, the sower is translated by the Bengali poet Torulata Dutt from the French poet Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo's French poem L'Isor. L'Isor, the French name L'Isor literally means in English sowing season. Okay? Before starting with this poetry, I will give you a brief introduction about the, you can say, poet, an actual original poet of this poem, Victor Hugo. He is a poet, novelist, dramatist of the 19th century. Was the most important of the French romantic writers. Though regarded in France as one of the country's greatest poets, he is better known for novels as Notre Dame de Paris and Les Miserables. So Victor Hugo is the original writer, original poet, you can say, of this poem, The Sower, and Torulata Dutt translated this poem from French to English. Clear? Now Torulata Dutt is a Bengali poet, also known as a Toru, wrote in English as well as in French. She is considered to be the first Indian poetess to write verses in English as well as in French. The Sower, as I said, is a translation of Victor Hugo's poem Cessin de Similes, L'Isor. L'Isor is a French name which literally means in English sowing season. It is translated by Torulata Dutt from French to English, as I said. This poem, The Sower, is a poem about a farmer. Okay, this poem is about a farmer who is sowing seeds on the field. He has seen many bad harvests in his life. However, he is so optimistic, so clear of having a good harvest every time he tosses him. Every time when he tosses his grain, he is so optimistic of having a good harvest. Okay. So, you can open page number 72 of your test book. Student meanings are given. So, first I am going to explain you by stanza wise. Okay. Here, as I already said, student, The Sower is translated by the Bengali poet Torulata Dutt, who is also known as Toru. She has translated, you can say, this poem L'Isor, sowing season, into English. Okay, so The Sower. Poet, you can say, he is an observer. Okay, poet is an observer. As I said, student, Victor Hugo being one of the famous romantic poets, famous for their love for nature. Okay, Victor Hugo is famous for his love for nature. He directly broke this poem into the description of nature right from the beginning of the poem. Okay, as I said, Victor Hugo is one of the best famous romantic poet, was famous for his love for nature. So from the beginning of the poem, he directly broke into the subject of nature right in the beginning of the poem. As I said, this poem, it is the translated version. So in this poem, the poetess Torulata Dutt, she talks about the poet as an observer. Okay, she talks about the poet as an observer who was casually sitting in a porchway watching the fading sunlight as night was approaching. Student, here in the first stanza, I'm reading it for you. Sitting in a porchway cool, sunlight I see dying fast. Twilight has turned on to rule. Working hours have well nigh past. Here it means, student, in the entire poem, the poet has used the word uses imagery. Okay, he has uses different imagery. Poet has used word imagery in the entire poem. Word imageries, it's a visual representation of ideas or situation in the reader's mind, and help the readers to create a mental picture of it. As I'm explaining you about it, how this poem has started, what poet had it. The poet has used word imagery in the entire poem. Okay, and what imagery just used to create a visual representation of ideas or situation which was put up by the poet. Okay, so it directly, you can say, create a mental image, a mental picture with the help of the words. Okay, so in the first stanza here, poet, you can say, as I said, the poet Torulata Dutt, she talks about the poet as an observer. Okay, a poet who was casually sitting in a porchway. Porchway means on a veranda. Okay, watching the fading sunlight as night was approaching. You can clearly see that, student. For your convenience, I have placed various picture. Okay, side by side by the stanza. So here in the first stanza, poet talks about, here Torulata Dutt, she talks about the poet here, Victor Hugo, as an observer who was sitting in a porchway on a veranda, watching fading sunlight as night was approaching. Here, twilight has turned on to rule. As I said, student, in the entire poem, the poet has used word imagery. Now this line, twilight has turned on to rule. This means this line creates an image of a soft light in the sky just after a sunset. Just after the sunset, twilight has turned on to rule. That means poet creates an image of the sunlight by using this word, twilight has turned on to rule. So we can clearly, student, imagine the gradual changes of the bright sunlight. Can only see the twilight, that is semi-darkness. You can say that is twilight, that means semi-darkness. So by these words, poet creates an image of a soft light just after the sunset. So I said poet has used word imagery in the entire poem just to, so that we can easily, you can say, create a mental picture of the poem with the help of the word. Yeah. So in the first stanza, poet, you can say, yeah, poetess, that is Torulata Dutt, she talks about Victor Hugo as an observer who was sitting in a porchway on a veranda watching the fading sunlight as night was approaching. Clear? Now we will move on to second stanza. Shadow run across the lands, but a sower lingers still. Old in rucks, he patient stands, Looking on, I feel a thrill. Back and high, his silhouette dominates the furrows deep. Now to sow the task is set. First student, you all clearly know that whom we call the sower. Sower is the person who used to implant the seeds. Clear? Now here, as I said, the second stanza, poet she beautifully described the twilight. Twilight, I already said, it's a semi-darkness, it's a light, it's a soft here, a light soon after the sunset. So here in the second stanza, she beautifully described the twilight. Twilight, I said, which was the time between the day and the nightfall. The light of the day was ruled by the soft semi-darkness of twilight. The light of the entire day was ruled, that means soon after the sunset, there is a semi-darkness of twilight heralding the arrival of night. Working hours almost over and shadow work covered the land. Okay, working hours were almost over. All went to their house because shadows were, you can say, lengthened, were covering the lands. The place was empty as all the farmers and other workers had left for their home. Okay, soon, suddenly, a lone farmer caught the poet's attention. As I said, that here Torulata that talk about the poet as an observer who was sitting on a veranda and watching the sunlight, fading sunlight as night was approaching. So poet has observed that all the place were almost empty, all the farmer and other worker had left for their home. Suddenly one person, a lone farmer on the field, caught poet's attention. As he was still working hard, still hanging around. He was alone, nobody was with him. But that person was the lone farmer, was absolutely calm and composed. There was nothing remarkable about that poet, about the appearance of the lone farmer. There was nothing extraordinary about that person, about the farmer. His clothes were dirty, shabby, but his patience to stand alone, approaching the darkness. He was patiently standing alone. His clothes were old, shabby, was looking very ugly. Okay, so there is nothing extraordinary about his appearance. He was like a common man. He was a farmer. He was working hard on the field. He is patient to stand till the approaching darkness, doing his job, immediately attracted the poets toward him. This lone farmer immediately attracted the poet's attention. Soon, the idea of the poet about a sower in old rags changed to a powerful black shadow of a confident man. Here, student, old in rag, he patiently stand. That means here, that was the sower in old rags. Rags here, what do you mean by this? Old rags? You all know. Here, student, you can say, sower lingering still old in rag he patient, and that means that person changed to a powerful, that reflection, the black shadow. I said his appearance was not there was nothing extraordinary about his appearance. He was lonely standing. He was very composed and calm. That means that thing, he was doing his job. As darkness was approaching, still he was doing his job. That literally attracted the poets toward him. So the sower in old rat changed to a powerful black shadow of a confident man, which even dominated the deep trenches in the field. The shadow of that person even dominated the deep trenches in the field. Because of the setting sun, there was complete darkness on the field. The shadow of the sower appeared bigger. Okay, in the sun, you can say after the sunset, the shadow of that confident person, the black shadow of that of a confident man, you can say, appear bigger, and deep trenches look smaller. The deep trenches look smaller in front of the black shadow of that person, of the farmer, making the human being more impressive than the nature. So that thing has attracted the poet a lot. That means, in terms all other darkness was approaching. This man, this lone farmer, caught poet's attention as he was still hanging around. You can say he was doing his job with patience, and he was very determined, because every time he want to bring the best harvest as he can do. Okay, so here the setting sun, the shadow of the sower appear bigger, and the deep trenches look smaller in front of, you can say, the shadow of sower, that making the human being impressive than the nature. Okay. Soon shall come a time to reap. Marches he along the plain to and fro, and scattered white from his hand the precious grain. Muse I as I see him straight. Here, student, here shall come a time to reap. Soon, as I said, the sower was determined to sow the seeds all around the field, as he expected a good harvest. He was quite old. And might not live to see the result of his hard work, even during the extended working hours. But that did not stop him from doing his job with lot of energy for the future generation to get benefits. To and fro, that means marches he along the plain to and fro, that means was constant movement backward and forward. And scattered, but that here means, student, that soon the time has come to reap, that means to sow the seeds. He marches along the plain, constant backward and forward movement, doesn't scattered where. From his hand he scattered all across the field the precious grain, as you can see, precious grain. That means he spread it all over that. But he was he was quite old and might not live to see the result of his hard working, because he had to work during the extended working hours. But he didn't stop from doing his job with lot of energy for the future generation to get benefits from them. Yeah. So here, student, here in the second stanza, one thing I would like to highlight here, his celerity dominates, or you can say dominates the furrows deep. Again, the second stanza, what imagery is used by the poet? Okay, what do you mean by this? His celerity dominates the furrows deep. That means the image of a sower is created in the reader's mind with this imagery. Yeah, his celerity here means the sower's black shadow gradually become bigger, and the deep furrows deep you can say. And the deep furrows, that means student a line, trench channel. Okay, the furrows or trench you can say, or you can say furrows deep. That means, and the deep furrows across the field start appearing smaller. So this idea to create such a mental picture is to present the longer than life is the image of a sower who can even dominates over the nature. Okay, so here the black image, the black shadow of a sower, which appears to be bigger than the deep furrows and the deep you can say trenches in on the field. Okay, so here the mental picture is created in the mind of the reader. Clear, student? So here last stanza, darkness deepen, fades the light, now his gesture to mine eyes are august and strange, his height seems to touch the starry skies. Now here, student, the poet was urged by the determined and confident step of the sower at the end of his life. In the poet's imagination, the impressive figure of the sower touched the height of the starry lights. Okay, the impressive figure of the sower touched in the mind, in the poet's imagination, the impressive figure of the sower touched the height of the starry skies. The sower's dedication, his courage, his patience made the poem so appealing to the reader. Student, this line again in the last stanza, a word imagery has been used by the poet. Seems to touch the starry skies. Now seems to, again a mental picture is created with the help of the word. Seems to touch the starry skies. It means this picture depicts the transition of a twilight sky to the night sky. As it was completely darkness, now starry skies means a twilight, a slight light, a twilight sky to the night sky. The poet wants to express his reverence for the majestic quality of the sower. So here the image of a sower gradually grows to reach the top of the sky, as if the entire world is glowing with his reflection. And twinkling stars are the grain he has spread all over the place. So student, this here in the third stanza, marches, the word marches here, the poet is referring to a time. The word marches here, poet is referring to a time when the day is going to be over and the night will fall. Marches here means express the appreciation for the sower by using the word marches instead of simply referring his movement as walk. So poet here uses the word marches. The poet expresses the appreciation for the sower by using the word. The poet appreciated the sower by using the word marches instead of simply using the word walk. Okay. So here the sower is confident and dedicated to spread the grain, to scatter the grain, precious grain. So he marches with determination for a good harvest, as a soldier marches with the positive attitude of winning the battle. So therefore, instead of using the word walk, the poet appreciated the sower by using the word marches. Okay, because as soldier used to marches with a positive attitude on the battlefield with the hope of winning the battle. Same you can say, sower marches with determination and confident of a good harvest. So therefore, the poet uses the word marches to appreciate the sower. So this is you can say it's a very nice poem where poet has uses different word imagery. Here student, I have also placed, you can say, various pictures so that you can easily relate with that. So this poem we, the reader, gets the message from the sower. What message the sower give us? That we need to do our job with determination. Okay, we need to do our job with determination and hard work. The poem appeals to us, appeals because of the impressive presentation of the sower. Both nature and human aspect play dominant role, making the poet interesting. Okay, so the theme of the poem, you come to know, is to show the powerful human aspect which could even dominate the nature. Okay, to show the powerful human aspect which could even dominate the nature. Clear, student? So we will solve the activity in the next lecture. That's all for today. Thank you.